Hello and welcome to my channel today, Boo Snakes and More. Today we're talking about Washington, D.C. So please like this video and subscribe to the channel. And for more videos like this, watch my other house channel, A&A Snakes and Stuff. My youngest son's channel, Henny's Toys and Games. Or my oldest son's channel, Little Chris 10. Let's dive into the video. Washington, D.C., officially the District of Columbia, and commonly known as Washington or D.C., is the capital city and federal district of the United States. The city is on the Potomac River across from Virginia and shares land borders with Maryland to its north and east. It was named after George Washington, a founding father and the first president of the United States. The district is named for Columbia, the female personification of the nation, through which human form and attributes are applied to the United States. Washington, D.C., Federal Capital City and Federal District, District of Columbia. Nicknames: D.C. the District. Motto: Justice for All. Anthem: Washington. Coordinates: 385417 north by 7759 west. Country: United States. Residency Act, July 16th, 1790. Organized February 27th, 1801. Consolidated February 27th, 1871. Home Rule Act, December 24th, 1973. Named after George Washington, Columbia. Government type: Mayor/Council. Mayor: Merle Browser. D.C. Council: Phil Madison, Anita Bounds, Christina Henderson, Robert White, Kenya McDuffel, Brianne Nadella, Brooke Pinto, Matthew Flamen, Janace Lewis, George Zachary Parker, Charles Allen Warden Fender, Tylene White, Eleanor Holmes Norton. Area: U.S. House, Eleanor Holmes Norton, Delegate. Area: Federal Capital City and Federal District, 68.35 square miles, 177.0 kilometers squared. Land: 61.126 square miles, 1.58.32 kilometers squared. Water: 7.224 square miles. Highest elevation: Fort Reno Park, 409 feet, 125 meters. Lowest elevation, Potomac River, 0 feet. Population as of 2020, Federal Capital City and Federal District, 689,545. Estimate for 2025, 693,645. Rank: 67th in North America, 22nd in the United States. Density: 11,000 280.4 square meters, square miles. Urban, 5.174.759 US8. Urban density, 3.997 square miles. Metro, 6.304.075 US 7th. Dynami, Washington, GOP, Federal Capital City and District, 184.298 billion 2024. Metro, 749.108 billion 2024. Time zone, Eastern Standard Time. Summer, Eastern Standard Time. Zip codes, 20001, 20098, 20201, 20599, 56901, 56999. Area codes, 202 and 771, 316 ISO 3166 code, US DIC. Airports, Dulles International, Regional, National, Vermont, Washington. Railroads, Washington Metro, MARC Train, Virginia Railway Express. Website dc.gov. The U.S. Constitution in 1789 called for the creation of a federal district under exclusive jurisdiction of the U.S. Congress. As such, Washington, D.C. is not part of any state and is not one itself. The Residency Act, adopted on July 16, 1790, approved the creation of the Capital District along the Potomac River and is considered the city's founding date. In 1800, when the capital city was moved from Philadelphia, the 6th Congress started meeting in the then unfinished Capitol building, and the second President, John Adams, moved into the newly finished White House. In 1801, the District of Columbia, formerly part of Maryland and Virginia, and including the existing settlements of Georgetown and Alexandria, was officially made the federal district. Initially, the city was a separate settlement within the larger district. In 1846, Congress reduced the size of the district when it returned the land that Virginia had coddled, including the city of Alexandria, in 1871, and made the entire district into a single municipality. There have been several failed efforts to reduce the district further and admit the rest as a state since the 1880s, including a statehood bill that passed the House of Representatives in 2021, but was not adopted by the U.S. Senate. Designed in 1791 by Pierre-Charles L'Enfant, the city is split into quadrants that meet at the Capitol building, with 131 neighborhoods overall. As of the 2020 census, the city's population was 689,545. During the work week, commuters from the city's Maryland and Virginia suburbs increased the city's daytime population to more than 1 million. The Washington metropolitan area which includes parts of Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia, is the county's 7th largest metropolitan area with a 2023 population of 6.3 million residents, a locally elected mayor, and 13-member council have governed the district since 1973 though Congress retains the power to overturn local laws. Washington, D.C. residents do not have voting representation in Congress, but elect a single non-voting congressional delegate to the U.S. House of Representatives. The city's voters choose 3 presidential electors in attendance with the 23rd Amendment passed in 1961. Washington, D.C. anchors the southern end of the Northeast metropolis as the seat of the U.S. federal government. The city is an important world political capital. The city hosts buildings that house federal government headquarters, including the White House, U.S. Capitol, Supreme Court building, and multiple federal development departments and agencies. The city is home to many national monuments and museums, located most prominently in or around the National Mall, including the Jefferson Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, and Washington Monument. It hosts 177 foreign embassies and the global headquarters of the World Bank, International Monetary Fund, Organization of American States, and other international organizations, home to many of the nation's largest industrial associations, nonprofit organizations, and think tanks. The city is known as a lobbying hub, which is centered on and around K Street. It is also among the country's top tourist destinations in 2022. It had an estimated 20.7 million domestic and 1.2 million international visitors, the 7th most among U.S. cities. History: pre-founding, the Algonquian-speaking Piscataway people inhabited present-day Washington, D.C., and lands around the Potomac River when Europeans first arrived and colonized the region in the early 17th century. The Norcodic, also called the Norcoterans by Catholic missionaries, maintained settlements around the Angostura River in present-day Washington, D.C. Conflicts with European colonists and neighboring tribes ultimately displaced the Piscataway people, some of whom established a new settlement in 1699 near Point of Rocks, Maryland. Founding during the American Revolution and Revolutionary War, 9 cities served as capitals to the Continental Congress, and under the Articles of Confederacy, following independence, New York City briefly served as the first capital under the Constitution before the capital returned to Philadelphia, where it remained from 1790 to 1800. On October 6, 1783, after the Pennsylvania Militant of 1783 forced the capital to move briefly from Philadelphia to present-day Princeton University in Princeton, New Jersey, Congress reserved to consider a new location for it the following day. Edgebridge Gerry of Massachusetts moved up buildings for the use of Congress be elected on the banks of the Delaware near Trenton, or of the Potomac near Georgetown, provided a suitable district can be preceded on one of the rivers as aforesaid for a federal town. In Federal List number 43, Published on January 23, 1788, James Madison argued that the new federal government would need authority over a national capital to provide for its own maintenance and safety. The Pennsylvania Minutet of 1783 emphasized the need for the national government to not rely on any state for its own security. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution permits the establishment of a district not exceeding 10 miles square, as may by secession of particular states and the acceptance of Congress become the seat of the government of the United States. The Constitution, however, does not specify a location for the capital. In the Compromise of 1790, Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and Thomas Jefferson agreed that the federal government would pay each state's remaining Revolutionary War debts in exchange for establishing a new national capital in the southern United States. On July 9, 1790, Congress passed the Residency Act, which approved creating a national capital on the Potomac River. Under the Residency Act, the exact location was to be selected by President George Washington, who signed the bill into law on July 16, 1790, formed from land donated by Maryland and Virginia. The initial shape of the federal district was a square measuring 10 miles, 16 kilometers on each side, and totaling 100 square miles, 249 kilometers squared. Two pre-existing settlements were included in the territory: the port of Georgetown, founded in 1751, and the port city of Alexandria, Virginia, founded in 1749. In 1791 and 1792, a team led by Andrew Ellicott, including Ellicott's brothers Joseph and Benjamin, an African-American astronomer, Benjamin Berniker, whose parents had been enslaved, surveyed the borders of the federal district and placed boundary stones at every mile point. Many of these stones are still standing. Both Maryland and Virginia were slave states, and slavery existed in the district from its founding, and much of its constitution likely relied in significant part on slave labor. Slave receipts have been found for the White House, Capitol building, and establishment of Georgetown University. The city became an important slave market and a center of the nation's international slave trade. After its survey, the new federal city was constructed on the north bank of the Potomac River, east of Georgetown, and centered on Capitol Hill. On September 9, 1791, three consumers overseeing the Capitol's construction named the city in honor of President Washington. At the same time, the federal district was named Columbia, which was a patriotic name for the United States, commonly used at the time, being the feminine form of the name Columbus. In reference to Christopher Columbus, Congress held its first session there on November 17, 1800. Congress passed the District of Columbia Organic Act 1801, which officially organized the district and placed the entire territory under the exclusive control of the federal government. The area within the district was organized into two counties: the County of Washington to the east and north of the Potomac River, and the County of Alexandria to the west and south. After the act's passage, citizens in the district were no longer considered residents of Maryland or Virginia, and their representation in Congress ended. Burning during War of 1812. On August 24, 1814, during the War of 1812, British forces occupied Washington after defeating an American army at the Battle of Bladensburg in retaliation for acts of destruction by American troops in the Canadians. The British set fire to federal buildings in the city, gutting the Capitol, Library of Congress, Treasury Building, and White House in what became known as the Burning of Washington. The damage of the city's burning could have been more extensive, but a storm forced the British to evacuate the city. After just 24 hours, most federal buildings were repaired quickly, but the Capitol, which was then still under construction, was not completed in its current form until 1868. Restitution in the Civil War. In the 1830s, the district's southern territory of Alexandria declined economically, due in part to its neglect by Congress. Alexandria was a major market in the domestic slave trade, and pro-slavery residents filled that abolitionists in Congress would end slavery. In the district, Alexandria's citizens petitioned Virginia to retake the land it had donated to form the district, a process known as retrocession. The Virginia General Assembly voted in February 1846 to accept the return of Alexandria. On July 9, 1846, Congress went further, agreeing to return all territory that Virginia had seceded to the district during its formation. This left the district's area consisting only of the portion originally donated by Maryland, confirming the fears of pro-slavery Alexandrians. The Compromise of 1850 outlawed the slave trade in the district, although not slavery itself. The outbreak of the American Civil War in 1861 led to the expansion of the federal government and notable growth in the city's population, including a large influx of freed slaves. President Abraham Lincoln signed the Compensated Emancipation Act in 1862, which ended slavery in the district, freeing about 3,100 slaves in the district 9 months before the Emancipation Proclamation. In 1868, Congress granted the district's African American male residents the right to vote in municipal elections. Growth and redevelopment. By 1870s, the district's population had grown 75% in a decade to nearly 132,000 people, yet the city still lacked paved roads and basic sanitation. Some members of Congress suggested moving the capital further west, but President Ulysses S. Grant refused to consider the proposal. In the Organic Act of 1871, Congress repealed the individual charters of the cities of Washington and Georgetown, abolished Washington County, and created a new territorial government for the whole District of Columbia. These steps made the city of Washington legally indistinguishable from the District of Columbia. In 1873, President Grant appointed Alexander Roby Shepherd as governor of the District of Columbia. Shepherd authorized large projects that modernized the city but bankrupted its government. In 1874, Congress replaced the territorial government with an appointed 3-member board of commissioners. In 1888, the city's first motorized streetcars began service. Their introduction generated growth in areas of the district beyond the city of Washington's original boundaries, leading to an expansion of the district over the next few decades. Georgetown street grid and other administrative details were formally merged with those of the city of Washington in 1895. However, the city had poor housing and strained public works. This led it to become the first city in the nation to undergo urban renewal projects as part of the City Beautiful movement of the early 20th century. Thank you for watching this video, and peace out till the next one.